This podcast is brought to you by Podcast Nation.
For aspiring producers, I didn't even know this was a job. So I'm here to tell you it's a job, and it's the best job, and it's so much fun because it's not a job that is like a doctor or a lawyer. It was not on my bingo card ever that I'd be doing this job. And I'm so happy it is.
Welcome to Officially Influenced. I'm your host, Clio founder of Bouge Media and Podcast Nation. This podcast is for creators looking to amplify their message. We're pulling back the curtain on an often mysterious industry to share the insights you need to grow your brand. Let's get into it. Today's episode is a fun one because we're turning the mic around on someone who is usually very comfortable behind the scenes. I'm joined by Abby Williams, a producer here at Podcast Nation, a true podcast lover, and quite possibly the person who knows absolutely everything you need to know about Bravo and their shows. Abby has been producing shows with us for years, and she helps to shape episodes, refine storytelling, and make sure everything you hear sounds polished and intentional. She's in the trenches of podcasting every single day, editing, developing, troubleshooting, and thinking strategically about what makes a show actually work. I wanted to have Abby on because so many people think starting a podcast is as simple as hitting record. But there's so much more that goes into building a show that's engaging and sustainable. Today, she's sharing practical tips and tricks for anyone looking to launch a podcast or anyone who edits their own shows to better understand the production side of the industry. Abby, welcome to Officially Influenced. I'm so excited to finally have you on the other side of the mic.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Oh,
this is
awesome.
so surreal.
I know, isn't it so weird? I mean, we're both used to being behind the scenes,
Yes.
and it's so funny that now we are in a podcast studio and we are the ones. I'm like, okay, before we start, Abby, tell me what to do. You're the producer.
Oh, I know. This is my first time behind the mic. This is very weird, but so fun. And I think we're getting put to the test here, so no pressure.
No pressure. Starting sweat.
At all. Starting strong. No, but thank you so much for having me. So exciting.
Well, you know what? Let's get right into it. And I'm going to ask you the question that I ask our guests at the beginning of the podcast. What does the word influence mean to you?
You know, because I've heard this a few times on previous episodes, and I was like, what does it mean to me? Like, I've heard other people explain it. And to me, it really comes down to trust. I am very easily influenced, but it's always because I trust the person. So whether it's a podcast host that I listen to every single day, or if it's someone that I just follow and I love, I trust them on some level. So that's really what it comes down to. And that's what I always think of. I'm like, if I trust you, if you tell me to buy something, Clio, I'm going to buy it because I trust you.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
I think that you're a very valuable asset at Podcast Nation because you're really in tune with pop culture.
Yeah, I always say I'm addicted to pop culture, and it's a part of me that I'm like, I don't know if this is ever going to be useful, but I have so much useless information about celebrities and what's going on in the world. And then
It's super useful for us.
But now, and you know what? Now we're kind of starting to use it to my advantage, which is great. And I'm able to use it in my work. And I feel like I've found a job that is perfect for me because the information that I always thought was useless can be useful at my job.
Absolutely can. And then so we're always like, okay, so tell us about this person. Do you think they would have a good podcast? Or no, it's just really, really valuable to have someone like you on the team.
Thank you.
And you just really know how to produce a podcast, what sounds good, what's going to hit. So we are going to touch a little bit on that as well, being a podcast producer. So again, anyone who's looking to either start a show or has one, we're going to look to you to give us some tips and tricks for growth and how to make your podcast sound better.
So fun.
Okay, so Abby, your entry point to Bouge and Podcast Nation was quite unique. So maybe you can share that story with our listeners.
Yes. So it is a funny story because I Actually, even like before I even forayed into bouge, I had a run-in with you. And I remember waiting to tell you this story until I met you, was when I had my first big girl job working in Vancouver. That's where we live. And I was crossing the Lionsgate Bridge, which if anyone that lives here, if you know, like from 2 p.m. until 5 p.m. It's absolute mayhem. And I was coming home from my first big girl job. And I was a huge Caitlin fan. I was always listening to her podcast. And so I knew of you. And so I was pulled over. My car battery died. And so I'm in the middle of traffic, 5 o'clock on a Tuesday, worst timing ever. And I'm just sitting there. It's 30 degrees outside. It was mid-September. I'm literally on the verge of tears. Everyone's honking at me because my car is broken down in the right lane and people are having to swerve around me. And the only person that stopped was you. And you pulled over and you rolled down your window and you looked at me and you said, "Are you okay?" And I looked at you and I was like, wait a second, I know that person. But I was like, oh my God, how nice of her to do that. And so ever since then, I was just like, I have so much respect for Clio as a person.
Abby, I had totally forgotten that story.
Right?
That you told me that. Yes, I totally forgot that. And I wish I could remember that moment, but I don't remember it.
But it was just so who you are. Like, that was just the most you thing ever. Of course, it's not something you're going to remember because that's just indicative of the kind of person you are, that you would just stop and ask a random stranger on the side of the road if she's okay.
And you just said yes because you had someone coming on the way?
I did. Thank God I had BCAA, but the moral support.
Moral.
All I needed. I needed that.
Oh, well, I'm so glad
I was
could give
not
that to
okay.
You. No, that doesn't. Not fun.
So, anyways, that job, I was in my early 20s, went traveling. I had graduated university, and I knew I always wanted to be in a creative field. And I grew up singing and dancing, so I was like, I think I want to get into music, and I always wanted to work in the music industry. So when COVID hit, I had an opportunity to go back to school, which was great, and I went to Capilano and did the arts and entertainment management program there. And it was awesome. I was able to learn so much about music, but also we did marketing and everything that I kind of have always gravitated towards. I was like, I'm finally where I need to be. And in that program, we did 2 internships. In the first internship, I worked in music and it wasn't a fit for me, but it was a great experience nonetheless. But when it came to my second internship, I was like, I feel like I should do something different and really get the most of this experience. So I was like, maybe I'll look into working for a marketing agency. And then I thought of bouge, and we reached out, and unfortunately you guys didn't, well, now fortunately, but you guys didn't have any openings for any sort of student internship at the time. But Nadine had said, well, we actually have a podcast network. Would she be interested in doing any assisting with our podcast department? And I was like, I didn't even know that you guys had a podcast network. And right away I was like, I love podcasts. This makes so much sense. Hell yeah, let's do it.
And it's also more aligned with the music industry.
Totally. No, I know. It was something I just didn't even know I could get into. And once that door opened, oh my gosh, it just felt so right. And I was like, everything that led me here makes so much sense. Why things didn't work out before, it just made so much sense. And so I started as an intern and then made my way, worked as an intern for like 6 months. And then you guys didn't have any roles open at the time, but there was a role open at Do Edit, which was Caitlin's scrunchy business. And you guys just threw me in there doing social media.
Yeah. Well, we're like, okay, we loved working with you. We're like, shoot, we don't have a role, but we need to keep her in the ether because she's amazing. And actually, we haven't talked about Do Edit on the show. Mm-hmm. So that's a company that I'd founded with Caitlin Bristow. We had this idea that we wanted to launch a scrunchie brand. And the first edit that we dropped, we had a small amount. We wanted to test it out. I think we sold out in something like 3 minutes. And we're like, what just happened? We need to get back into production quickly. And then we did another one that we launched. And so every time we would put back what we earned and to more product. And
crazy.
People were buying them as soon as they could, and they were trading them on eBay.
Oh my gosh.
for like $100, like a scrunchie, because people wanted to complete their collection.
Yeah.
We had to do it for 3 or 4 years. It
Yeah.
was such a fun company.
It was so fun.
That's where you could really see the relationship that Caitlin had built with her audience.
Yes.
They really trusted her. It was a product that was so organic to her because she literally, that's why we did scrunchies, because she would wear them all the time. I'm like, wait, that's cool. I love them. Like, they give your hair volume. And it's like, it was something that she really loved.
Love my scrunchies. And
I have scrunchies for life.
The clips, and I still have the toques. Well, for our American listeners, the beanies.
I know, I always say toques, and they're like, what are toques? I always forget. I was like, oh, beanies.
You're so right.
Yeah, but that was really cool and really fun. And you led the social media for that, which was pretty full on.
Yes. It was such an adventure. And I'm, in hindsight, so grateful that I did that first, actually, because it prepared me for this job in a lot of ways. And yeah, I think, I obviously got to know the team so well, and we just have become family since then. It's been 4 years, almost 5 actually, that I've been with this company. And yeah, so no regrets. It was such an amazing experience. And then thankfully, I was brought back to my roots and brought back to podcasting.
We have a producer role and we need you back. Yes. We're taking you back. We kept you in the ether so we could take you when we were ready for you.
I think I was actually gone for one day and I was looking for a new job, and then you guys emailed me and it was like, no, I'm coming back. You can't get rid of me. It was like that scene in Wolf of Wall Street where Leo DiCaprio was like, I'm not leaving.
You were stuck with me.
And that was me. And I was like, sorry, guys. Like,
I'm back.
I'm back. You just had the perfect job.
And then you came back as a producer for Podcast Nation. And how long ago was that?
So that was in September of 2022.
Okay. So 3 years.
Yeah. So three years officially. And it's been so fun.
Were you listening to podcasts already?
Yes. When this opportunity came up, it felt so right because I had been over in Montreal for school for 4 years. And during that time, podcasts were really taking off. That was like 2015 till 2018. And Caitlin's podcast was actually the first show that I ever listened to.
Unbelievable.
And then I really got into The Toast, which is, it used to be The Morning Breath, but now it's The Toast. And it's a daily pop culture podcast. And I just really got into it. And I would walk to school pretty much every single day, or commute, depending on the weather, because it's really cold there. It's really cold. But I would listen to podcasts every single day. And I got even more into podcasts than I was into music, which was huge for me because I'm a huge music lover.
Also, side note for anyone listening to, Abby here has the most beautiful voice. Maybe you'll sing by the end of the podcast and give us a little teaser. Can you please?
That'd be a really big deal. My first podcast and singing.
Well, you have a mic. Maybe,
it's true.
But we won't get you to do it until the end, so then people will have to listen to the whole podcast.
Usually people don't hear that side of me until I've had like 1 or 2 margaritas.
Okay, can we get Abby a margarita? Is there a bartender?
It's like 11:30 a.m.
Maybe you can give us a quick rundown of the shows that you're working on right now at Podcast Nation.
Yeah. So my main show at the moment and the love of my life is Bravo Docket.
And we will get into why later.
Yes. So Bravo Docket is, I think, one of the coolest shows ever. And I'm not just saying that because I produce it, but it is incredible. It's a show that's really found its niche. It's hosted by Ceci and Angela, and they are 2 Bravo fans that also happen to be lawyers, and they are just so badass. There's no other podcast like this out there, in my opinion, because there's no one that is focusing just on legal battles in the Bravo world. So basically every episode they're breaking down a lawsuit that's going on in the Bravo world. And if you're a Bravo fan and you're aware of the Bravo universe, you know that there's a lot of drama and it's always bleeding out off camera too. And there's always a lawsuit on the docket and something to talk about. So pretty much, every single week they're breaking down and explaining the legal terms to us lay people that don't understand, like myself, who's producing the show. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to cut that out because I don't know what that means. And I need them to tell me what it means.
You're learning a lot.
I'm learning so much, and they have just cultivated such an incredible community of people, and they just know their stuff on both ends, the legal side, but also they're huge pop culture fanatics and Bravo fans, and they can really speak to it.
Such
And
an awesome combo.
oh, it's so
Like you said, they've
cool.
really found a great niche.
They have. They really have. They're just like such a perfect example of a show that has found it. They've just hit it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As you know, we really want this podcast to be a good tool for anyone looking to start a podcast or that already have one.
Yeah.
So as a podcast producer, can you tell us some of the do's and don'ts that you can think of right off the top? Like what really makes a show successful?
Yeah. So it's become such a popular medium because it's such an incredible opportunity for people to take their own narrative and run with it and also build community. I think the main thing that people don't understand before starting a podcast that I wish more people knew and that we talk about in our network is just how much work it actually is. And it's on both sides, you know, whether you have a production team behind you, but even if you're just the host, it's a lot of work. It's a huge time commitment. It's many, many hours of thinking about what the next week is going to sound like, who the guests are. Even just booking the guests is like a whole thing on its own. It's a lot of brain power that I think people don't understand before they jump in. Even if you are batch recording, it's still such a huge time commitment and you don't want to take a break. It doesn't look good. You want that consistency and the listeners want that consistency. They want to keep coming back. You have people relying on you. But when you are looking to develop a show, I think understanding before you even get started is what's the concept? Who is my target audience? And then also, what is the edge? What's going to make this show different? Because as we know, this space is very saturated, which is incredible. There's a lot of variety out there and there's something truly for everybody. And there's space for everybody too, but it's finding that edge and what's going to make a show stand out and
For sure.
have people coming back for more every week.
For podcasters that live probably somewhere where they don't have as much access to a studio or they don't have an in-home studio, what do you think about doing Zoom interviews?
Video is really big right now.
Yeah.
For good reason. I mean, everything is kind of shifting that way. But I think that if you don't have that access to a beautiful studio such as this, it's very expensive to set up cameras in your home. It's maybe not something that you should take on right away. And maybe that's not to say you can't down the road take on video, but trying to just hone in on audio first is something we really recommend of like, okay, let's just get some really incredible content, audio only. You can still videotape yourself in your closet or wherever you are. And if you want to have guests on, great. There are awesome platforms out there like Riverside, which we use. So many like that too. Squadcast is great, but really focus on that audio and making sure it sounds incredible.
Nailing that piece first.
Yeah, just really nailing that, nailing what the content is and getting really tight episodes out there and then seeing where that takes you and build your audience from there. Because at the end of the day, that's what people are going to come back for. But that's another thing is like, it's so much work.
Even more work.
It's so much work. Like even today where we're sitting, I'm seeing 3 cameras, you know, we've got lighting galore, beautiful microphones. And so, yeah, it's money, it's time, it's all of that.
It can always be added on.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing too. A lot of podcasts are evolving all the time. Like our shows, we're constantly looking for ways to evolve. We don't want them to stay stagnant because we're living in a really fast industry that's constantly changing. So we actually love when people come to the network and they've already had a podcast for X amount of years and they've done the grunt work. They have, you know, sat in their closet and recorded the episodes where, you know, the audio didn't sound great. They had to start somewhere, but they understand.
They know what it takes.
They know what it takes to have a podcast. And we love that.
How can someone improve their sound instantly without needing to buy new equipment?
If you're not doing this already, like we always recommend just understanding where you're sitting is a huge, huge part of it. You could have the best microphone in the world, but if you're not in the right space to record, it can really impact your sound quality. So, believe it or not, our number one recommendation for people, if they can't, afford a studio space or if they are just getting started, we actually say the closet is the best spot. Actually, one of our hosts, Sarah Galley from Andy's Girls, which is an amazing show, her actual studio space is in her New York City apartment, and she calls it the Cloffice because that's where she records Andy's Girls, and it's become part of her shtick. We added that in her trailer because she's like, the Cloffice, this is where I'm sitting. If you are listening to this podcast, I'm actually sitting in my closet office, and she's surrounded by those fabulous clothes, like dresses, shoes galore. And I've told her, I'm like, Sarah, like you've cracked the code. You understand that this is where the best sound is going to happen. So you can really do a lot by just figuring out where you're sitting. And yeah, I mean, microphone is very important, but I would say just the environment that you're in is huge.
Really quickly, in terms of like when just figuring out what a good space is, obviously you can do some sound testing, but ideally no windows, or if you do have windows,
Close your windows.
but that's why a closet does well. And I'm sure even having the clothes in there helps with the sound too. So anything that like smaller spaces, not large spaces where sound can echo.
Exactly. You've got it. Yeah. Muffle that sound.
What should always happen in the first 2 to 3 minutes of an episode?
Yeah. So, first 2 to 3 minutes, I mean, with a lot of our shows, we recommend a hook to really begin the episode. So, a hook is typically a piece of audio that we pull from the episode that really highlights what the content is going to be about and what you're kind of signing yourself up for when you're a listener. So, it can either be something that provides context to the episode, or it can be something that leaves you on a bit of a cliffhanger and makes you interested in learning more and wanting to keep listening. So a hook is something we really recommend. And with an intro, it depends on the show. Sometimes it's like a moment for the host to get established with the listener. Maybe they provide a personal update that, if they've like left a little crumb with the listeners last episode, maybe they're catching them up to speed on what they've been up to. And also in that time, just really setting the scene for what's to come in the episode, maybe, teasing if, say, we have the Bravo docket or one of our medical shows, it's like, this episode is for you. If you're struggling with this, just really calling out what's to come, just really focusing on that 2 to 3 minutes of like, how can we capture our listener and convince them to stick around?
Is there a day you recommend a podcast release their episodes? And do you recommend consistency here?
We've talked about this so many times as a team. What is the best day? And we've really done like a lot of trial and error when we've brought new shows on to, see what is like the ideal time, what's the best day of the week. And after years of being in this space, I think we have as a team come to a collective agreement. And just from what we've seen, Monday to Thursdays seem to be the best days for podcasts just because that's the meat of the week. Weekends can work, but we just find during Monday to Thursday, people are like head down, grinding it out. They're in their routines, they're in their rhythm. And that brings me to the consistency point is like, say you choose Tuesdays to be your release day, staying consistent with that is so important because people, it becomes a part of their routine and their ritual. They look forward to it. So I'm checking my Spotify for my favorite podcast. I know that Heather McMahon drops on Wednesdays, and I really look forward to that. And that's just become part of my routine. Whereas if they drop off for a week and they maybe post on a different day, sometimes it happens. Like it's
Yeah.
not always going to be perfect. But I think just like having that day of the week really establishes that relationship with listeners and that consistency and that trust of like, oh, thank God I'll have content on this day.
Yeah, nowadays there's so many podcasts that, like if someone starts to try to find another podcast because they can't find yours on the day they listen to yours, it can open up that door where then they start getting hooked on another one. And you just don't want that to happen. So, what's something professional producers do that most hosts don't even think about?
Oh my gosh. How much time do you have? No,
I
I
said
really
quick, Abby. I said quick.
I know. I'm gonna try and keep
I'm
it
just
quick.
joking.
So I mean, if they've never had a hand in producing their own show, there's quite a bit. Like, and I think that if a host has done the production of their show in the past, then they really have that understanding of how much work goes into a show. But if they don't, then understanding that we're listening to your episodes with a fine tooth comb and we're going through every moment second by second. Like we're auditing the audio quality and your content at the same time. And sometimes it can take like multiple listens to get the perfect episode. And I think that not just hosts, but I think a lot of people in general just don't understand that before they jump into the world of podcasting and even production. Like I didn't even understand that before I got into it. With that said, how many man hours it takes and like how detailed we have to be as producers, we are constantly looking for new tools and platforms that we can use to literally streamline our workload because when we have 4 to 5 shows going at one time, it can be really overwhelming. How am I going to produce all these shows, in 1 week? Descript has just become my holy grail and all of our producers' holy grail in terms of editing. It's a platform that's constantly evolving. They're always bringing in new tools. Right now, we've got new AI tools to just like really streamline, okay, remove all these filler words and, you know, help me put together potential social clips or what would be a good hook for this episode. Like it can do everything and anything under the sun. And yeah, I think it just has helped exponentially. And so if you're a host and you aren't in a position to hire full-time production, having a platform like Descript is everything and more.
Oh, it's huge. It'll make your life so much easier.
Yeah.
How long should editing actually take for a 1 hour episode? I know this is a bit of a
Oh,
hard question and it's
yeah.
depending on the show, but a rough idea.
Yeah. I mean, there really is no magic number, and it really depends on the type of content because some shows are very loose with their editing. Like, we've got some shows that are more comedy forward, and we're not like, oh, we have to remove every filler word, and it's okay if they sound a little bit more relaxed. So, a show like that, if it's an hour, might only take 1 to 2 hours to fully produce because we're really only doing like a final listen. But distribution is like a whole other story. But the editing itself, maybe 1 to 2 hours. And then when it's like a more in depth show that runs an hour, sometimes it can take 2 to 3, depending on the day and also your attention span. Because you have to be so present with what you're listening to. And that's actually back to Descript. That's why Descript has been so helpful for myself is being able to see the transcript in front of me so that I can take in the content visually. Like we only used to do it just listening to the audio and you'd have to go back several times to listen and be like, okay, is this making sense? Did they mention this already earlier in the content? So, yes, long story short, it really depends on the podcast and the style of the podcast. But yeah, it can vary anywhere from like 1 to 4 hours, I would say, for an hour episode.
Yeah, and that's with Descript that probably has shaved off a lot of time. Like I've noticed the
For sure.
difference, editing podcasts in Descript. Yeah, but I would say for me, like I find when I edit a podcast, it's like at least times two, if not times three of the length of the podcast.
Yeah, it's crazy. It takes way longer than people would think, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I surprise myself sometimes. I'm like, why did this take me so long? But it's also an amazing trade off when the content does sound great and it's presenting well.
Yeah, that's a better final product. What's something you wish every host understood about production?
Honestly, I would say that it's a team effort. Like, I really think that the best shows happen when we can produce as in tandem as producers and as hosts. I always see the best results when I'm able to collaborate with my hosts and really understand what is their vision, what do they want out of this show, and yeah, also understanding that nothing has to be concrete about your podcast. We can always change things and we can always add ways to enhance the listener experience, ways to enhance the show and not getting stuck in the same routine. And that's also the benefits of having a production team or a network or just someone in your life that can listen to your show and provide feedback because I mean, we get into this too, and that's why we work so collaboratively as a team, is because you can get so in almost like in a silo with your own show where
Mhm.
it just becomes really routine week by week and you're not seeing the ways that you could improve it because you're just like, "Oh, no, I'm just getting my stuff done and head down and the show's on time." But it's really great having other people provide that feedback and have ears on what's going on and, okay, I noticed this. Maybe we could adjust this and bringing that up. But so, yeah, working collaboratively, I think would be the short answer of that. I'm long winded.
Okay, so I really want to talk to you about Bravo, the Bravo world. It's a
Oh,
very new
yes.
world for me that I find so fascinating. I think, especially being so into the Bachelor Nation world with
Mm-hmm.
Caitlin, we've had so
Mm-hmm.
many of our influencers on the booze side that came from the Bachelor world. But I don't think I realized how massive Bravo is. And I think it also maybe had a bit of a resurgence like the last few years, or
Yeah.
maybe not. Maybe I was just really, really, really out of the
It
loop before.
ebbs and it ebbs and flows for
Ebbs and
sure.
flows.
It
Yeah.
does. Yes.
And like you were saying, you produced the Bravo docket.
Yeah.
You're a huge Bravo fan. So with the Bravo docket, they put an event that we helped support
Mhm.
at BravoCon, which is a huge thing. So yeah, maybe do you want to tell us a little bit about how this Bravo world is also infiltrating the influencer space?
Yeah. So Ceci and Angela from the Bravo docket, they had this idea of we need to get all the creators together that are going to BravoCon because it's really become its own world. And even the Washington Post wrote about that event that we did, saying, being a Bravo fan used to be a hobby and now it's become a career. And it's crazy how it's just taken off for people.
And so are
And
you saying that Bravo listeners are the ones that are creating the
jobs for
shows?
themselves.
Yes, because they're the ones that are essentially podcasting about
Yeah.
the podcast.
And commentating on the Bravo shows that they're watching. And to answer your question of why I think this is happening, I was thinking about this when we put on this Creator Con with Ceci and Angela. And I was thinking, it's obviously the social media space. People just want more. People want more from the Bravo celebrities themselves who are on these reality shows, but people want to continue the conversation. And I think the old media of e-news and Entertainment Tonight, those outlets are kind of dying off.
They just don't
And
seem as like
it's not
genuine
as
or authentic.
authentic.
Yeah.
Because no offense, but these journalists don't really know what's going on. Whereas like these fanatics, they study Bravo. They know it inside and out. They know the lore of Southern Charm and however many seasons there's been of that show. And they can go back in their memory and be like, okay, well, this happened on season 2 of this. And it's crazy and it's incredible. But yeah, they're able to speak on it in a way that other news outlets can't. So even Bravo celebrities are going to creators now and they know these creators. Like Ceci and Angela are known by Bravo stars because they're like, oh, well, these people get us and they're speaking the truth. And people want more and more and more. And with TikTok, that's how I get my news. That's how I know so much about Bravo, is because these creators pop up for me every day. It's like last night I've watched Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, and then the next morning I'm getting inundated with stories and recaps from that episode. And so it's so much fun. You just feel like it's addicting and you feel like you're a part of something.
Yes. I've gotten that feeling from watching a show and I'm like, I need more,
Yes.
But here it's like their real life. And that's why people get so invested in their life.
Yes. And too, on top of that, it goes beyond now just the show and what has been recorded and produced. Things happen after the show that people want answers to, and they see so-and-so on a date with a celebrity, or drama from the show is like unfolding in real life and people are catching that on camera, or they're hearing about it, or someone's posted something and we need to break it down in real time. Like, that's what it's become. It's like it's become just more than what is shown on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And
that makes sense.
Yeah.
In terms of why it really does take off. And then a lot of Bravo stars themselves have started their own podcasts, and those have been really successful. But we're also seeing a huge wave of celebrity podcasts from like Amy Poehler now to Dax Shepard, and some absolutely take off and then some just fall flat.
Yeah.
So what separates a celebrity podcasts that succeed from the ones that don't? Why do you think that is?
I just started listening to Dax, and then like 2 weeks ago started listening to Amy Poehler. So Armchair Expert is Dax's podcast, and then Good Hang is Amy Poehler's. And the main thing that I've taken away from both of their podcasts, and they are doing incredibly well, these shows. Obviously, Dax has been around forever. The main thing that I'm taking away is that they just do their research and they are so well prepared before these interviews. And you can tell that they weren't just like slotted into a seat and given a prep doc with a bunch of questions. They really care, and it really comes through. And they ask such thoughtful questions. And
you can't really fake it.
You cannot fake it. And they also have an edge being celebrities because they are able to relate to the guests that they are having on. They're able to get these big names and they're able to ask some questions that other outlets and other podcasts can't, because they can understand a bit of what they've gone through. And the research that Dax does, like, he's able to ask questions that, Reese Witherspoon wouldn't answer if she's just being interviewed by Barbara Walters, rest in peace. I don't think she's with us anymore. But on a show like that, that's a bit more commercial.
Yeah.
And a lot of celebrity podcasts that I see don't do well is that, where it's like they're just being slotted in because of their name and because they have a following and that they have celebrity status, that it's going to automatically translate into a podcast, and it's just not the case.
They just haven't found their edge.
They haven't found their edge, and that's okay. But it is interesting. It's really interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Especially as producers. And we've now been doing that in our weekly calls where we're auditing these shows and just going through and listening to and watching shows that are doing well in the space and really trying to understand why. Why is this show doing better than this show? And really examining with a fine-tooth comb, which has been so fun.
Okay, well, Abby, we are going to do a rapid fire influenced by you segment.
So
are
fun.
You ready?
I'm so ready.
What is your favorite podcast at the moment?
Okay, so I kind of have a two-prong answer. Shocker. I'm going to plug one of our shows first because it's top of my brain right now. I had the chance to work on Sorry We're Cyrus the last month, and honestly, I just love that show. I just love it so much. It's such a fun show. It's such a fun escape. Tish and Brandy are just hilarious together and such a fun.
So unique.
It's so unique. And I also find their interviews, I mean, their solo episodes are so much fun, but I find their interviews are unlike any other shows that I listen to. I just find they really create a bond with the guest. And I mean, they're sitting at Tish's house and you just feel how relaxed everyone is. And I feel like they just always get to a really deep level with their guests, and there's a level of comfortability there. And it's just a really enjoying audio, but also visual experience. It's a video podcast as well. And so I've been loving Sorry We're Cyrus. And then right now, I'd say Absolutely Not with Heather McMahon is It's been on my rotation for many, many years. Like I don't even know when she came. Maybe in like 2018, she came out with the podcast. Like it's been a long time and I've been listening to it on and off for many years, but I just adore Heather. She is a comedian. I've seen her live and highly recommend anyone go see her live at least once in their life because she's just so talented. But yeah, her podcast is incredible. She kind of goes on like her own tangent for the first maybe half an hour, and then she takes listener questions. The theme is absolutely not. And people will call in and be like, oh my God, absolutely not. I was just on a flight to Dallas and someone had their toes out. Like, this is crazy. And then Heather will riff on it for like 10 minutes and just go on.
Because she's a comedian, right?
She's a comedian and she's just so naturally hysterical. Like, she comes by it honestly. And yeah, I just adore her. So yeah, I'd say those two. I'm really into the comedy podcasts these days. Life and the world is so heavy that we need some levity.
We need some laughs here, people.
Oh my gosh. Like it's too serious. Take a break from the news, turn off CNN, and put on Heather McMahon and Sorry We're Sorry.
Yes. Yes.
A podcast episode that recently changed your perspective.
Oh, okay. Actually, good hang. Just listened to her episode with Ina Garten. And an icon. She's one of my favorite people, the Barefoot Contessa. She is honestly one of the OG influencers. She's kind of like a Martha Stewart. She said something on the show that really changed my perspective because Amy Poehler was asking her, like, why are you so happy all the time? Like, what is it? Like, what makes you so joyful? Yeah, what is it? And because she's just such a positive person, much like yourself. And she was like, really, I choose to be happy. Like, I think that happiness is a choice. Obviously, there's things in life that we can't control. And, you know, we're always going to have good days and bad days. But I thought that was just so true. We can look forward to our everyday life, the little things like a cup of coffee or going for a walk with a friend or just something like that. And it's really changed how I see things.
I love
just
that.
in that
Yes,
like one
enjoying
little tidbit.
those small moments and appreciating the things that you get to do. We get to do all these things every day.
We're so lucky.
We are so lucky. Oh, I could go on a lot about that. So let's move on. Who's the podcast host you find really influential right now?
Oh, influential. I would say Alex Cooper. You can't deny the influence of Alex Cooper. I think just the way that she has made a name for herself in the space and like her documentary. Oh my gosh. I know Alicia and I on the team, we watched it and we were like, everyone needs to watch this on our team because just seeing the work that she does behind the scenes, and she's a true grassroots podcaster. She has done all the editing. She does all the research. She has help now, but she just gets it. She gets the best guests. She's got brands galore. She's just killing it. And I think she's just got such an influence on culture, really.
She definitely does. That's undeniable.
Yeah.
And what podcast do you think everyone in our industry should listen to?
I love Armchair Expert because I think it's such a different show, the way that he approaches things. And I think that's why he's done so well. And I also freaking love his co-host, Monica. They just have such a great dynamic. But yeah, I just love listening to that. I feel like every single episode I take something away. And I'm like, ooh, this is cool to try because every episode is a little bit different. And I'm like, oh, this is...
So you get some good inspo.
You get so much inspo. And that's another thing in our industry is don't be afraid to get inspired by other people.
Well, speaking of inspo, are there any shows or anything that you're excited to work on in 2026? Anything exciting coming down the pipeline?
I'm so excited. We've got so much coming up. I think we're developing 3 different shows right now. And that's just been in the last month. So I can't even tell you what's going to happen in the next 2 weeks. You know, we're constantly evolving. It's been so cool. But on my end, I'm really excited. I'm working on a show with a host that actually was one of the first podcasts that I produced when I started at Podcast Nation. Her name is Dr. Jen Lincoln, and she is an OBGYN, and she's also a reproductive health advocate, and she's just brilliant. And we had a show with her before called Let's Talk About Down There. I learned so much about vulvas and vaginas.
You're like, what is my job?
No, literally. That's the other thing I love. I'm like, every day is so different. Like I had one financial podcast once. Like I've had so many different subjects and it's just every day I'm learning something. But yeah, we're really excited. So she's coming back because she is writing a book called The Birth Book that's going to be coming out in the spring of 2026. So we're doing a 10 episode series called Let's Talk About Birth. I won't give too much away, but it's been really, really fun to record. She's chatting with industry experts and everyday people who have had either traumatic birth stories or really beautiful birth stories. You name it, there's everything and there's something for everyone. So it's going to be...
I'm really excited about that one.
Oh, I think you'll love it.
Oh, gonna
especially
love it.
being a mom. Like I think
being a mom
and going through it yourself, I think it'll be
and
so
even
great.
Everything happening politically right now in the US.
Oh my gosh.
I think that she sheds a very important light on what's happening.
She's not afraid to talk about it either.
No.
And just been lucky enough to sit in on these recordings and hear her speak to some of the coolest people. I haven't heard a podcast like this, so I'm really excited to be a part of it.
Okay, well, Abby, to close it out, do you have any final messages for aspiring podcasters or even producers as well out there?
Yeah. So for podcasters, I would say, just be authentically yourself if you are starting a podcast, because that's what people are going to come back for. People want to connect, and that's why we love podcasts. You become part of our day, and it's such an intimate experience. So just staying authentic to yourself. And for aspiring producers, I mean, I didn't even know this was a job. So I'm here to tell you it's a job, and it's the best job, and it's so much fun. And if you want to get into the space, get on LinkedIn and start reaching out. You can always reach out to me or anyone else on our team and just start searching up different producers in the podcast space and seeing how you can get involved and kind of just like learning from them, because it's not a job that is like a doctor or a lawyer. Like it was not on my bingo card ever that I'd be doing this job. And I'm so happy it is. But
well, we are so happy that you found your way.
You're the best.
No, you are. No, thank you so much for taking the time to really talk a little bit about your role and just giving a bit of insight. So helpful and valuable, because you really are a wealth of knowledge when it comes to this. So thank you so much, Abby.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.
Let's do it again.
Yes, please.
Next week on Officially Influenced, I'm sitting down with someone who knows me very well. One of my best friends, Erin Trelaw. If you've listened to this show, you've probably noticed a recurring theme: authenticity. Time and time again, what truly influences people isn't perfection. It's actually realness. Erin is a health coach who helps people live their most true and expansive lives. And I couldn't think of a better guest to explore what authenticity really looks like, not just for creators, but for all of us. How do you show up fully as yourself? How do you grow, evolve, and even rebrand without losing who you are? Erin has so many great tips when it comes to all of this. She's also the host of the incredible podcast Well Within on the Podcast Nation network. So she understands firsthand what it takes to build a show, pivot when needed, and stay aligned while growing. This is going to be a deeper, more personal conversation about influence from the inside out, and I can't wait for you to hear it. Make sure you're following Officially Influenced so you don't miss it.